Ta-da! Welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of Video Store Clerks, in which we will kick off the holiday season of 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us tonight, we are your clerks. I'm Dave.
Chapman.
Chuck.
Mike.
All right. And tonight,
The newest member.
we are back to the Four Horsemen. And tonight, the holiday season kicks into full gear with the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. God help us all. But nonetheless, let the reindeer games begin.
It's not a legacy I want to leave behind.
Awooga, wooga, wah, wah, awooga, wooga, wah. Ho, ho, ho.
Welcome to the store.
What the hell was that?
He just broke me already.
Woo! That was unexpected.
It always is. I like
I love
that.
I love it.
The chat is open. The store is open. We are here with you once again, where our Christmas season gets into full gear, and we will start with the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. Oh boy, I got through the first three, I must confess, and I had to stop.
I just skimmed through the last two. Well, I watched the first one all the way through, skimmed through the second one. I've seen bits and pieces of that one anyway. And the third one, I might have caught a little bit of what was going on.
Well, the second one's pretty much the fucking first one, except for like the second half of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one is pretty much Silent Night, Deadly Night 1.5, I think.
Ew.
What an interesting franchise.
Yeah. It's a really weird one. They could have honestly just left it with just the first one and it would have been fine.
Uh-huh.
And then they decided they were going to keep going with it. And
There's more story to tell.
Well, why don't should we give a plot for those that may not be familiar with?
Sure. Do you guys want to do you happen to have the VHS box there? Because that would be wonderful.
I do not have any of them on VHS, which is a big shocker.
That is
It
a shock.
is. It is a shocker.
Because that's one you think I would have, and I don't. I actually do need that one on VHS.
We got to give spoiler alert because we're going to go over all these fucking films tonight.
You really had to say spoiler alert for a movie in the 80s anymore?
Yes.
I guess
I think at a certain point, it's okay. I mean, I still say it sometimes, but
I think all we're doing is saving people's time.
Well, I think some people get confused because they're like, okay, it's a review of Silent Night, Deadly Night, but some people do it with spoilers, and some people give reviews without spoilers. And they just gotta give a synopsis and what they thought
Right.
about. So you got to give that warning for the people that are like, I don't want to know what happens because I want to watch this fucking masterpiece myself.
I was going to say, main spoiler, shitty movie.
And we are 100% spoiler.
here's the plot: trip to kitchen. Don't come back for an hour.
Hour and a half.
No, you can come back because the last part of the movie's great. It's fun. So I wouldn't say great. That was a bad choice of words. I'm sorry for that one.
Mediocre.
Yeah.
At least with the first one, I had a lot of nostalgia because I used to rent this movie when I was a kid. It was one of those movies when you're a kid and it's the summertime, you're home from school, and you have a sleepover with all your friends, and it was like always one of those movies you rented. And it was the cover. It was the cover art.
That's it.
And
That's the best part of this whole first one is the cover art. It was created by Burt Klieger, and that is the only thing that you can really say is good about the first film because that sells it. You see it and you're like, the iconic picture of snow-covered chimney, and you see the Santa arm coming out of the chimney with the axe, and you're like, this looks fucking sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's you're sold there. So, but then you get in there and you're like, what the fuck happened? That's the old bait and switch.
This looks great. Never mind.
Although
Well,
there's a lot of people that love this fucking film and this franchise.
Well, Dave, do you have
So-
a plot there? Like you got something to read, like pull up real quick, or just for a quick little thing?
I could pull up.
In a nutshell.
In a
Or
nutshell.
just in a nutshell, like just I figured, like, and then we could just rip on it,
Yeah.
like, and just go for
A
it.
kid sees his parents get murdered by Santa Claus, a guy that just robbed the gas station dressed as Santa Claus.
Was
Then
it
he
the real
ends up
Santa
go-
Claus?
No.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, there's no such thing as Santa Claus.
Whoa.
Kids might be watching. If for some reason they are, that's your
What the
parents'
fuck
fault.
just happened?
Look,
Oh my god.
kids shouldn't be up at 11 o'clock at night on a
Just
weekend.
broke Mike's heart over here.
Fuck the kids. What about me? Holy shit. Okay.
No, but then he grows up in an orphanage, and then when he turns 18, the nun gets him a job at a toy store. And then he sees Santa Claus outfit, like the dude dressed up like Santa Claus, and he kind of freaks out. And apparently the color red sets him off.
And I'm gonna stop right there for a second, because why did the nun not share any of this information when they brought this kid who shouldn't have been put out in the workforce? I don't believe at all. But why did the nun not share any of this information with the manager of the toy store that he was going to be working at during the holidays?
Well, should we get to that later? Should we start from the beginning?
Yeah, start at the
Yeah,
beginning.
am I jumping ahead?
Way ahead.
Let's do this in sections here. If we're gonna do this, let's do this.
See,
right.
my thing is though, like whenever he's a kid,
Yeah.
and they go visit Grandpa.
Yeah.
Why is
I forgot.
Grandpa fucking
Yeah.
act like he's in some like catatonic state and doesn't talk to his own kid?
He
then
only
as soon
wakes
as
up
they
to scare
leave-
children.
Yeah, as soon as they
Pretty
leave, he looks at his grandson and he's like, Santa Claus kills everybody. And he's like, what the fuck? It's like,
Yeah, that's
"Hi,
the basic
Grandpa."
premise. The family, it's the mother, the father, and then the two children. And they're going to see the grandfather who's in a home or some kind of psychiatric place. It doesn't really give you a clear understanding of where he is. It's just he's, almost catatonic, it appears, until they
walk
go
away.
away and it's just him and the one grandson.
Which
And he-
why would
he
they do
goes-
that in the first place?
Right, like here, just chill with the grandpa. She even says,
I mean-
he's not gonna hurt you. And,
I mean,
he's still like-
in some cases it'd be like I'd be afraid the kid would do something to the old dude. Not in this case. In this case, this guy really scares the shit out of this kid.
it's like whatever.
Yeah.
But the weirdest part is that the grandfather, who's just, I guess, plain catatonic, just decides out of nowhere to kind of break kayfabe and fucking tell this kid this horrible story. Like, hey, grandson, I've been sick. Why would you even oh yeah, I love chilling in this home, pretending I'm catatonic. Like, I don't understand the benefit of that, but whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, Santa, have you been a good boy? Because Santa punishes the bad. And that's where it all kind of sets off. And I think it sets up the mental state of Billy once he gets older, because that whole interaction with his grandfather, where his grandfather is basically saying Santa's going to punish you if you're bad. So
Yeah.
Billy gets this thing in his head where it's like, oh, if I'm bad, I can't be bad, or there's going to be punishment. And that leads into what happens with his family and how he feels like they got punished because they were bad. So, but yeah, that's the opening pretty much segment. They go to visit Grandpa, and he gets this strange warning.
Yeah, like him and his little baby brother fucking
Yes.
disappeared.
Now let's talk about the drive home.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. You see, that's when you see Santa fucking robbing that dude and shoot him in the head at the gas station.
It's like
Yeah,
31
Santa
bucks.
robs the gas station. 31
Yeah.
bucks. Merry fucking Christmas. And then,
Yeah.
and then I
Oh,
guess
this bastard.
I don't know if he's really broken down or if he set that up. Like he was, I don't know if what the point was. Like he is, because he didn't get enough money at the gas station. Is he trying to rob somebody else that comes along? Because he doesn't really try to rob him. It's just like he goes over there and then just straight up kills him.
He's
there
just
wasn't like, hey,
he's just
give me-
kind of out for blood. Yeah.
yeah, like he wasn't like, hey, give me your money. You would think that would be the first instinct because like he's robbing a gas station. He didn't really go into the gas station trying to kill the clerk. The clerk reached for a gun and then he blew him away.
Right.
So I don't know, whatever. So
Yeah.
they stop because they think this Santa needs help. And of course he comes over. He's the robber killer Santa. And he just pulls out the gun and and oddly enough, this is one of the few films where somebody does something that makes sense because in all the other films, people don't react correctly. But as soon as the Santa pulls out the gun, the mom says something and he just like throws it into drive or reverse and floors it. You're like,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
finally it makes sense. Where somebody's like, if I saw somebody with a gun, yeah, I'm getting the fuck out of there. But
Yeah.
then he wrecks, of course. The guy shoots. I guess it hits the dad. We never really see a clear shot of the dad getting hit. It's just the bullets go into the car, and then the car stops, and the dad
falls out.
Yeah. So we assume that he got shot.
Grabs the mom, pulls her out, gets her on the ground, rips her fucking shirt open. You know, not a bad thing for the eyes. Just
The
throw it out there.
obligatory titty shot.
Yeah, and then he slices her neck open, and little dude's watching in the woods over there in the little bushes, and
Yeah. Young Billy has escaped from the car and gone and hid in the bushes, and he's watching this play out. He's seeing his mother being
And then
attacked and then killed.
He leaves his
Yeah.
baby brother in the car seat.
Well, I mean, you can't expect.
I'm not gonna lie, got real nervous at that part of the movie. I was like, oh, don't kill the kid.
Well, you
'Cause
know,
I know that I saw this movie like years and years ago, but it's been years and years ago. So like I don't remember shit about this movie at all. So this is just pretty much like I've watched all this shit for the first time again. And boy, what a doozy.
but it's definitely a
Doozy
different
indeed.
world now. Definitely a different world now because you think like, oh, is he going to do something to this kid? But back in 1984, if they tried to do something to like a little baby like that, they'd probably get an X rating and it wouldn't go through.
Yeah, that was back on the no list.
Yeah.
The things you didn't do in the 80s was kill children.
Yeah,
That's
that was
why Stephen King always made like the kids like almost terrorized in every fucking movie because he did whatever he could to get as close to killing them without actually killing them.
Yeah, killing.
No, he kills a lot of
children
them.
He does, but I mean, for a while he didn't. Like he just got really close.
Just about every one of his movies, there's like a kid of some sort being killed. That's one thing I've noticed about Stephen King. It's like, there's a man that had anger as a child.
Killing children, definitely on the naughty list.
Yes.
Naughty.
Naughty.
There's anything to go away with while watching this movie, it's that fucking word.
So that sets up the storyline.
Yeah.
From there on up.
and
And
then
scene.
then we move on to the orphanage, and
They were some bitches.
they were some bitch tying him up in the bed and beating him with the belt. Good fucking God, more big no-nos. Yeah, I don't think you could ever get away with. We'll never see a movie like this again. I can't guarantee that.
The nuns will bound you up with some shackles. You
And
stay
that's-
in your room.
That's one of the things they thought was going to be the biggest beef whenever they were making the film, because whenever the film came out, there was a huge outcry of getting this film banned and everything like that. All these parents were protesting. There was a group like Citizens Against Movie Madness,
Mhm.
and they went and they were protesting this. They were trying to get this pulled from the theaters, and they actually succeeded. It only lasted 2 weeks in the theaters. So, and interestingly enough, it opened the same weekend as Nightmare on Elm Street, and it outperformed Nightmare on Elm Street because it was in twice as many theaters as Nightmare. So both of these debut. Silent Night, Deadly Night does better at first, and then gets pulled. It ends up grossing like 2.2 million, something like that. So it's like a triple up because the budget is like 750K. So they end up tripling up their money just in 2 weeks of playtime.
Which is crazy.
And so if it would have got pulled, they probably would have done, $10-20 million.
Or part 2 and 3 would have been a lot better.
And this is in 1984 too.
God.
A horror movie in 1984 that did those kind of numbers is just insane.
Yeah, it
I'm
was
pretty sure
definitely- Go ahead.
didn't they say something about like I think it was like the first Santa Claus killer movie or something, or
That
Like,
was
yeah.
that was where I was going. That was what the beef was. Was whenever they were filming it, they thought there was going to be outrage against them for the Catholic stuff, and they thought that there was going to be we're portraying the Catholic Church in a bad light and all this stuff. And it turns out it was the fact that they were making Santa Claus a killer that
Yeah.
everybody was outraged about. So totally different, but same scenario where it's like, yep, they don't want it. They want it pulled. And that's what happened.
Yeah, there was a lot of groups like that back in the 80s that were trying to pull stuff like that. They even went before Congress, and like some of the toys even got pulled. That was, if you remember, Captain Power probably suffered the most from those children's groups going before Congress. And, things never really
Captain
changed
Power.
that much.
that's what happened to that shit with their toys.
Yeah, their beef is pretty much parents have to buy these expensive toys in order for the kids to watch the show.
Oh,
In a nutshell. Oh, in a nutshell.
that's
That was
pretty horrible.
You got to think
That's
it's
kinda
84.
scuzzy.
You're about 10 years in the game as far as slasher films being popular. Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes out in 74, and now you're at 84. You've already had Halloween, you've had Friday the 13th, and a slew of other B
Black
slashers.
Christmas. and all that shit.
And it was like, somehow Santa Claus being a killer was the straw that broke the camel's back. And people were like, nope, can't do it.
Can't do that.
This is sacrilege.
They didn't have a problem with Frosty. They didn't have a problem with Frosty being a perverted killer, but don't fuck with Santa.
Well, that came later, but
They'll still.
they had to warm up to Frosty.
I think it's just the fact that like Santa is just such a character that like what if a kid sees it or whatever and then gets the wrong idea about Santa and all that shit. The wholesome factor, I guess, because that's what they wanted back then. They wanted everything to be wholesome. They didn't want anything to be remotely mood changing like that.
Yeah, they didn't want to taint Christmas's name.
Yeah, for the dollar.
And maybe we should reform that group, that Citizens Against Movie Madness, but we do it different now, where we're against all these shitty reboots and everything like that, because that's the madness now that we're experiencing. Like, what is this garbage that you're putting out? You're just you're just regurgitating the most horrible stuff. So to me, that's the madness. We should protest that shit. Get on the horn. I want these shirts made up. Citizens Against Movie Madness is coming back. God damn it! You heard it here first.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, now Billy and his brother are at the orphanage, which I think is where I started.
They don't even
My
mention his
bad.
brother being there, though, do they? I don't
They do.
remember hearing it. Did they?
Do they?
I didn't remember him talking about it.
I don't remember.
They, I think, I don't
Didn't
know
they
if it's
show
the first-
him? at one
They showed him. There was a part where one of the other kids teases his brother and says, "Oh,
Yeah.
your brother is a nut job or something," and Ricky is like, "Don't talk bad about my brother," or something like that. So you see Ricky, and you know that they're both there at the orphanage, but the focus is on Billy, and because it starts out with him. They were like in class or something like that, and he draws. They were drawing pictures for Christmas, and he draws a picture where like Santa and the reindeer are getting their heads chopped off or something like that. So it's a really graphic picture, and they freak out and they take him to Mother Superior, and she, again, the whole idea of punishment comes into play. Like his grandfather talked about it. Now Mother Superior in the Catholic Church is saying, you're going to be punished if you're doing something wrong. And they're trying to reiterate that point going through the movie. And that kind of is what triggers him at some point, is like, oh, these people need punished.
Yeah, the same thing whenever the Mother Superior finds those two people fucking in the bedroom, and then she goes in there and like beats the shit out of both of them.
Yeah.
With like a fucking hanger.
I thought it was a belt, but either way, yeah, she just goes to town on him, after Billy, speaks through the keyhole and sees this, and more, and another obligatory tit shot.
A lot of
classic-
titties in these movies. I mean,
classic-
Yeah.
I gotta give it to him. This one, I think every movie that I've seen, so I've seen 3 of them now, and there's tits in all of them, and they're all glorious.
classic 80s stuff,
Oh yeah,
Death.
it's great.
death and titties. Gotta have it.
Gotta have it. That was the ingredients all you needed for a good horror movie back in the day.
Yeah, I used to get in trouble at church and at school for drawing similar pictures from a very young age. I was actually banned from drawing anything for like 3 months at school, and I was not allowed to draw anything that I wanted to at Sunday school. Like, so it goes way back. I never got a punishment like this that like these people get, like from these nuns. I'm so glad that I'm not
I would
Catholic.
hope not.
This is I don't know. I got a lot of shit for it, but God, I don't know. I like it when I see like the nuns get killed.
But you weren't
That
physically
doesn't-
beaten.
Oddly enough, that doesn't come till way later.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. We're all over the
But-
place. Come on.
And probably the worst part, the worst thing they did to him was when Santa Claus came for a visit and she forces him to sit on Santa's lap. And he didn't he punch him in the face?
He did.
I mean, the kid punched Santa in the face, not the other way around.
Right.
They've gone either way though. Been great.
But yeah, obviously Billy's traumatized, and sitting on Santa's lap brings back memories of what happened with his parents. And he just doesn't want it. He has like an anxiety attack. He punches Santa and runs off. And of course, he has to be punished for this as well. So it just
It's
constant
So the-
theme of punishment.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
these things are just added up, stack it up at an early age for poor little Billy. And then when he turns 18 is when wow, I really did jump ahead, didn't I?
A little bit.
Now we get the job at the toy store of all fucking places when he's 18, I believe. I think they were
I
saying.
think so. Yep.
Yeah.
And again, the nun shares no information with the store owner, Mr. Sims, I believe his name was. He's
Yes.
another guy that looks very familiar that popped up in a lot of movies, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
the actor's name.
He looked like Gomer Pyle.
It wasn't Gomer Pyle.
No, but I mean, he looks like
He
it.
looked like. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because the whole time I was thinking it, I thought it was going to be the guy from that Lost Spaceship shit show we did that one time.
Oh, that Gomer Pyle. I
Yeah.
thought you meant the Full Metal. I thought you
No,
meant
no,
Vincent.
no, no,
Vincent
no.
D'Onofrio. I was
No.
like, no, that's not Vincent.
Although, although Vincent D'Onofrio would be a great Killer Santa, I think.
Oh, I can see that.
Just a
I can
thought.
totally see that.
just a thought. If you have to fucking remake another one, at least cast somebody like that in the role. That would make it at least
He definitely has played Psycho pretty good.
maybe.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah. The Cell.
So he gets a crush on one of his coworkers. What was her name? Sally? Was that her name? I forget.
Before you go though, I just want to touch base how like he's this little scrawny kid living in an orphanage, and somehow they must have a gym in the fucking orphanage or
Yeah.
something.
Like
Because
a hardcore fucking gym.
like he looks like he should be playing fucking football.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because
at first,
a few years. Good.
oh, I was just gonna say that because at first Mr. Sims doesn't want to hire him because I can't hire some kid. He's working in the stock room. He has to lift all these heavy boxes, and then he looks at him and he's fucking like, "Oh, okay, you're
Right.
hired."
Right.
Then we get the reveal. Actor Robert Brian Wilson comes in, his first film ever, and he is the older version of Billy. Muscular, all that, and green as hell, as far as acting goes. And you can, it tells. You can tell in the film, which, it's not a knock on the guy. It's just, one of your first films, you're getting thrown into this kind of role. I can't hate on him for that, but you can definitely tell that he wasn't really ready for that, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe, and it could have been the director too. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't give him
I'm not-
whole lot of direction. It was pretty much like, okay, just do this and go with it, and whatever. Robert Brian Wilson, not to be confused with Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. He is not a killer Santa.
Or is he?
Dun dun dun.
So a couple months go by. He's working in the toy store, doing good. And then Christmas time rolls around. And Mr. Sims gets himself into a bit of a jam. Oh, let's talk about that prick that works in the stockroom. He was pretty funny. So Christmas rolls around. Mr. Sims gets into a bit of a jam. The man that was supposed to come in as Santa Claus in the toy store, I think, breaks his ankle, I think he said, or something.
Breaks his leg or something like that.
Yeah. And hey, Billy, you want to be Santa?
Everything really is the fucking owner's fault, like this manager's fault.
It really is.
So the manager is the judge of the movie.
But
or the nun.
He doesn't,
I don't know.
Like you said, he doesn't know anything. Why would you think that it would be weird to ask one of your employees, like, "Hey, can you fill in as a Santa Claus?"
That is true.
He had no clue.
Right.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe the nun is, because she didn't share any of this information with him. And why a toy store?
What do you tell him?
He got problems. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
But at that point, does he have problems? Because the only thing you really see at the orphanage is, he can be a little troublesome. He punched Santa Claus. Nothing really bad. It's not like he's mutilating animals or anything really crazy. So you're not just going to be like, hey, can you give this kid a job? But watch out. I think he's kind of fucked up in the head. You're not going to say something like that. You're just trying to help the poor kid out. He's had a rough life. And she was actually trying to do right by him. She knew everything that was going on. She knew the way Mother Superior was treating him was wrong, and she wanted to help him out.
Yeah, because this nun wasn't the Mother Superior. This was the other nun that did kind of care for him.
Yeah,
right.
That wanted to do right by him.
Sister
but
Margaret.
Yeah, I see your point, but at the same time, I don't know. So they have the Christmas. Christmas is done. Oh, remember what he did to the little girl that was on his lap?
Yeah,
that sounded terrible.
That did
Explain.
sound wrong. You know what I mean. Are we still on? Okay, good. It's like, if you're naughty, I'll stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
And the best part is he's like telling this fucking kid, like, fucking stop it and all this shit. And the parents are over there and like, oh, he's so good with children.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Like, are you watching what I'm watching? What the fuck is this?
And then Mr. Sims hears the parents saying all that, and he's like,
yep.
And then walks away.
I did good. See, I'm saying like the manager's part is like responsible for what happens too, because whenever he's dressed up like Santa and they have like the Christmas after party or whatever the fuck, then he's sitting there like, you got a busy night ahead of you. You got to do this. You got to do that. Like, you got to go get all these presents out and blah, blah, blah and take care of these people. And then that's when he goes into the back room and sees the fucking asshole stock boy.
And then he says little things to him like, you better get started.
Right.
Yeah.
He kind of egged him on.
Little like mnemonic devices that were like going off in his head that you actually see the scene. And Robert Brian Wilson talked about this in an interview, said that this was the most difficult part of the film was him trying to show how Billy was transforming from a normal guy into a maniac killer. Because basically all it is he's standing there and kind of like staring off into space, and you see him kind of going through the whole process of where his brain is breaking down from all these little triggers, related to Santa Claus and everything like that. So it's just like, it's a still shot right on his face, and he's just like staring off. And that's like, he's trying to illustrate as an actor that this person is transitioning from one point to another. And I could understand how, that's difficult to kind of just show and but that's what kind of takes it into the next half of the film.
Yeah, you got to kind of make it so you could see that switch
Mm-hmm.
turn off, and yeah, that's really hard to do.
Lifeless eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the heel turn for Billy, right
Yes. And that's when he goes to the back and sees the other guy from the stock room.
Sees Andy with Pamela, the girl that he had a crush on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Pamela was her name?
Yes.
I think it's Sally. I don't know where Sally came from.
That's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. There's a million different Sallys, but go ahead.
I don't remember any of their names at all. So
Sally Field.
And now
Sally
finally the killing spree begins at this point.
And oddly enough, it starts out kind of as he comes in like a hero, because the Andy guy is trying to be intimate with the Pamela chick, and at first she's kind of like, oh yeah, we've been drinking, I'm kissing on him and all, but then he wants to go to the next level, and he starts getting more physical, and she's like not having it, and then all of a sudden, he's like, well, fuck this, I'm trying to get some, and he's like ripping her shirt off. And then Billy's standing there in the doorway or whatever, and he sees this happening, and then flashes right back to what happened to his mom. His mom's getting her blouse ripped off, and that was the whole scenario. So now he's older. Now he can do something about it, and that's when he grabs a hold of Andy. First kill of the movie
With the Christmas lights, I believe.
Yep, yeah. Pretty basic, nothing cool. Just like,
but he had like super strength.
Yeah,
yeah.
Just
They
holding
both
the dude
did.
up with one arm.
Yeah. But the weird thing was, then the Pamela chick freaks out on him. Like, what are you doing? Like,
Right. He's like, I just stopped you from getting raped.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's funny because we'll come back to this later, I'm sure. They do that in the second film as well. It's almost like they were thinking what we were thinking in the first film, and they're
Right.
like, why would she react like that? And then when it comes to the second film,
Thanks.
they fix that. Yeah, he's like, thanks. That's the way it should have played out in the first one. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we're
Yeah,
getting ahead of ourselves.
that's interesting. Oh, that's
how
okay.
dare you save my life?
Right.
God,
Then
David. Okay.
that ungrateful woman has to pay.
Yep.
Punish.
Then he proceeds to fucking kill her too. Oh, we
Slices
forgot.
her up the gut with the fucking box cutter.
As he charges over, prepared to kill Andy. Was that the character's name?
Yeah, the guy with
Yeah.
Andy.
Naughty.
That was the tagline.
His catchphrase, which would have not been as bad if they just focused on that the whole time. But he goes back and forth between naughty and punish and everything like that. And it's the way he delivers it isn't as menacing as it should be. Like they could have made it a little bit better, where if you're going to make this a catchphrase, you deliver it in a different tone, like naughty or something, something like that. It's a cheesy film, so obviously he's going to be a little over the top with it or whatever. But yeah, hindsight.
Yeah. So then he proceeds to kill her.
Short-lived love.
Yep.
It happens.
And during this whole time, the whole struggle, Mr. Sims is outside on the floor. I think I heard something. I think I heard
I
something.
No.
No, I heard something. And I think after the third time, he finally goes back to check.
He should have checked.
And yeah. And he gets a hammer in the head for his troubles.
What did he ever do?
That's what I was trying to figure out too. Like he killed a lot of people.
Gave the kid a job, was nice to the kid. He wasn't on the naughty list, in my opinion.
Me either.
Yeah.
They kind of went off. They kind of flipped the script on that one, didn't they?
And then kind of like the same. Whenever he shoots the chick with the arrow,
Yeah.
like she didn't really do anything. She was just an innocent bystander too.
She was probably the most innocent one out of all of them.
Right.
I mean, she was just there. And where did that bow and arrow come from in the toy store?
It was just hanging up, wasn't it?
He was a deadly shot with that motherfucker too.
He really was.
Yep.
And also, and that's when he gets the axe, the fire axe, which I think was towards the front of the store and just kind of hang it up for anybody to grab, which I thought was a little weird.
Well, it was shown by like a fire emergency exit or something like that. So I
Mhm.
mean,
I mean, I
whatever.
guess it wasn't that weird. I mean, I don't. Is that how they had fire access set up in 1983, 1984? I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't remember
I
that.
was 3.
I was born in
Yeah.
'84, so
Whenever I go to a toy store, I'm not looking for the emergency axe. Like, hey, where's your emergency axe at? I just want to make sure that it's up to code, sir. Oh, and by the way, do you have the latest GI Joe?
yeah.
Well, the one thing I kept thinking, I was like, could you just box up all those Star Wars and GI Joe toys for me?
I
and
know,
give
right?
them
You
to
see
me?
them back here on the shelf?
Oh,
Yeah.
man, that was sweet. That was a cool
Fucking
part
whole
because,
Jabba
like,
the Hutt fucking castle and fucking
Yeah.
everything. Like,
total
Mhm.
nostalgia where you're like, oh, I want
Yeah.
that shit right there.
And that old GI Joe Halloween costume,
Mhm.
that piece of crap with the mask. I was like, I think I had that when I was a kid too. But I saw like all those Jabba the Hutt figures sitting on. I was just like, oh man, if only could go back in time.
it's like all those toys are worth more than this movie now.
Oh god,
Yeah.
easy.
And I don't know how they didn't get pinched for copyright on that stuff because nowadays it's like if you have a hat on that has like a Nike logo or anything like that, like you got to put a piece of black tape over it. You can't have anything like that because you're gonna hit
Yeah.
Right.
with the copyright.
Yeah.
But back then they were just like, fuck it, we're gonna put GI Joe, we're gonna put Star Wars on here.
That's like whenever we went to go do the fucking extra shit for Zach and Mary. Whenever they were like, you got to have plain clothes on, no logos, no
Yeah.
nothing.
I wonder if there
Yeah.
were different laws back then, or if the fact that it got pulled so fast. I don't know.
That was
I don't
probably
know.
the least of their concerns.
Yeah.
Most likely. But I just had to say that because at least with the first one, there was that nostalgia factor with me that kept me into the movie.
Mhm.
Not so much with the sequels.
So where does he go next? Does he go to the? Did he go to the teen houses first? The ones that were making
Oh,
on
that's
the food
right.
table?
With the antlers.
Yeah.
I forget. Why did
That's
he
a good
even go
scene.
to that house to begin with?
I don't know because
They
if
don't
you
really
see earlier
say.
on, they're at the store. So I don't know if they were coworkers or people he knew. And they left. They didn't stay for the party. They went back to the chick's house, which was her name in the movie is Denise, but Scream Queen royalty, Linnea Quigley, one of her earliest roles, fucking awesome. You get to see her. She's playing Denise. She's just not a day player. She's just offshoot character that was in the store. You didn't even get any dialogue at first, and then it cuts away to this house where it's her and her boyfriend, and they're fooling around, and you find out that she's going out and to let the cat back in the house.
Yeah. Because
Well,
she hears
she's
the
topless.
jingling.
Yeah, she hears the cat's bell
Yeah.
jingling somehow in the basement with or whatever. But she decides to go out and let the cat back in. Well, she's not wearing a shirt, of course.
Yeah. The dead of winter.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not complaining.
And then sure as shit, there's Billy. Naughty.
It was funny because I was actually watching some shit on
That one did make me laugh.
last night, and like that movie actually popped up, and they were interviewing her. And she said that whenever they were filming that scene, she was like, a girl wouldn't put her shorts back on; she'd put a shirt on, and then just
Right.
answer the door with just like her underwear on. And they were like,
Right.
"Nah, titties got to be out."
Mhm.
They're like, "We got
Yeah.
a special kill for you, so you have to be naked for the kill," because they wanted to show the deer spikes going through her stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said that was like
Um,
the most uncomfortable thing ever because she's like,
yeah.
the fucking stuntman just kept grabbing me by the waist and throwing me up against the wall multiple times.
Yeah, she had
Jesus.
said that they for that scene it took hours and hours and hours for
Yeah.
them to film. They rigged it up to where she could sit like on the deer head or something like that and be at least a little bit comfortable.
I think she said they filmed like 3 or 4 hours just that scene.
God
Yeah.
damn.
But she was really good about it apparently, and that's what the casting director Stanley Stokes actually noticed was like, oh, this chick is very cool. She's just hanging out, has no problem with her titties being out. is a very good sport about, you know, she wasn't a diva or anything like that. She was very cool. Which Linnea Quigley, if you know anything about her, she's very cool. She's been in every freaking B slasher film ever practically, and she, you know, that's what they noticed about her on set. She was just so cool and reserved, and they said, hey, we want you to read for this film we're getting ready to do, Return of the Living Dead. And that's how she ended up getting part of Trash and Return of the Living Dead, because Stanley Stokes was the casting director for that as well.
See how things work out.
She said that was rough too, because she was naked the whole fucking movie.
Well,
That's another.
Yeah,
that's a whole other thing. And then the boyfriend shows up and actually puts up a little bit of a fight.
Are you cutting?
Oh,
You look
sorry,
like you're
no, I
cutting
didn't
to-
freeze. I didn't freeze up.
I wasn't sure if you were cutting to a clip or something like that.
Yeah, I
You
keep
look like-
thinking, do you have any clips?
I do. I have one very special clip that we'll be showing here in probably a couple minutes.
If you're
Excellent.
good, if you're a good boy, and you're not on the naughty list, you'll get this clip a little bit later.
Are you talking to me?
No, I'm talking to them,
Oh,
the good boys,
To the
and girls,
people.
oh,
to the
okay.
people.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Chuck, if you're a good boy, you'll get the fucking clip.
Fuck.
Oh shit!
Trying.
How did he kill the other guy? I forget.
Just threw him out the window.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right. Well, what do you think so far, Chuck? How are you into this movie? Because I was kind of like you. This is the first time I've seen it in decades, so it was like my first time watching it too.
The only one I remembered was 5.
Like I said, I don't remember shit about it. I mean, I like it. It definitely has that feel to it where it's like, you know, I might start watching it every year kind of thing. I might actually give it another watch like when it gets close to Christmas. I enjoyed it. Kind of reminded me of like My Bloody Valentine. Kind of had that kind of feel to it. For some reason, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I kept thinking when I was watching the first one. But I like it. You know, I thought it was cool. It's not something I grab all the time. Like I said, it's definitely something, you know,
Mhm.
Christmas
Might be.
time. Or, you know.
Yeah, a traditional horror movie. Well,
Yeah.
then he encounters the little girl, and basically asks her, "Have you been naughty or nice? Have you?" So she swears she's been nice. I think this scene went on way too long, but anyway, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a fucking razor blade.
He gives her the murder weapon.
Yeah, he gives her a murder weapon.
That's smart right there. But I think that the scene goes on a little bit longer because they're trying to build that tension. Like, what's he gonna do? Is he gonna kill the little girl or not?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just mess with the audience a little bit. Like, oh, what's he gonna do? Nope, she's been a good girl. She gets a murder weapon.
And then I believe after that we cut to the police station where not the Mother Superior but the other nun, I keep forgetting her name, was Margaret.
Sister Margaret.
Margaret, okay. Has gone to the cops and finally realizes that, oh shit, he must be heading back to the orphanage.
Yeah, because
That's
she
his
went
bet-
to the toy store looking for him, and then she saw everything that happened. So she reports it to the police, and they're trying to track down Billy at this point.
And figure that his end game is going back to the orphanage.
Right.
So the police officer says, "All right, fuck it, let's go." And he puts out a call. One cop answers. One cop heads to the scene and shoots the wrong Santa.
Yeah, and no one really seems to give a shit.
Well, even before that, though, there was 2 cops that were out on patrol, if you remember, and they're going around and they see a Santa sneaking in a bedroom window. You remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
part?
Yeah, they almost
don't
killed the
remember that.
That was
father.
the kid's dad.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
They
Okay.
just walked
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this house like
She's like,
nothing.
why are you here?
And
But
they're
the
getting ready to
mom-
blow- they're
when
getting ready
they-
to blow this dad away who snuck in to, surprise his daughter on Christmas. And
The mom comes in. Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
I was like, the mom comes in like behind the cops, but she looks shocked too. Like she didn't know. Like She didn't know her husband was just gonna creep into their daughter's like bedroom,
Maybe.
like through a window.
Maybe they were
Like
divorced.
I figure that's something that maybe I think there's more to that story that they were trying to explain. It's all dark. It's all downhill from here.
It could be like Gremlins, where the dad's trying to surprise the family and come down the chimney, and ends up, dead in the
Gets stuck.
chimney. But interesting fact there: the guy that's sneaking into the house as the dad Santa, Don Shanks, Michael Myers, Halloween 5.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Donnie Shanks.
I thought he looked familiar.
Well,
Interesting. Yeah.
you can't really tell, I guess, but that is a fun little fact there. So yeah, going back to what you said, Dave, the other cop ends up going to the orphanage to respond to the call.
Yeah, one cop. I mean, how many bodies do we have at this point? 5 or 6? And one cop shows up,
There's like 7.
shoots the wrong Santa, and he was like, I told him to put his. I told him to stop. I told him to stop. And the nun is hearing this call over the police banner, and she's like, he's deaf.
Whoops.
Wasn't it like a priest or something too? Didn't you call him like father or something?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the Catholic priests that were coming to. A Catholic priest is coming as Santa Claus
To entertain the children.
I
Okay.
failed to mention that he was walking through, and all the kids are outside and saw him coming. And by the time he gets next to this poor little kid, he gets shot 3 or 4 times, and blood goes all over this kid. I mean, oh my God, this is the most
Mary-
horrible orphanage in the
The nun
world.
comes back outside. She's like, everybody in the house. And there's like 15 kids out front.
Yeah.
Yeah, they literally, you know what popped in my head was Bad Santa, where they end up shooting Billy Bob Thornton right when he's getting to the house, and all the kids in the neighborhood see them shooting Santa Claus, and they're like, "Oh my God," and that's what popped into my head, like all these kids have just been it's like they're trying to make a point that Billy was traumatized when he was younger. Now you're going to have like 15
whole orphanage
other
full of Billies.
Yeah, the whole orphanage just watched Santa Claus get blown away. Oh well, they'll be fine.
Well, it'll be fine. So finally, the cop finds Billy. I think he was down in a shed or something, wasn't he? And then
The
he
shitter.
Well, the cop
Oh,
did-
he's in the
He was-
shitter.
he was in the
He's in the
shitter.
shitter.
No, he was not in the shitter. He went down in some kind of shed because he saw the door open. Investigated, nothing there. He comes out, naughty or punished. I can't remember which one he said, but hits him. You see that coming a million miles away, where the cop's going to get taken out,
Yeah.
and then
I think it was punished that time.
Yeah.
I feel like he only said naughty once and he said punished the rest of the time,
maybe.
but I could be wrong. I don't.
And then, of course, he just walks right up to the door of the orphanage, and
Just comes right in.
This kid comes right over and opens the door for him. Like, we haven't told these kids what's going on at all. And everybody's just so fucking chill. Like, we just
Mhm.
saw Santa Claus get blown away. And hey kids, let's sing and then go back to our normal lives. Everything's just dandy.
Nothing to see here.
But Billy gets in. Billy gets in the orphanage, and he's going to exact his revenge on Mother Superior.
Who is she in a wheelchair at this point? Or was that the second one?
I think she was in a wheelchair, but she didn't have the stroke yet. She was in some kind of- I'm pretty sure she was in a wheelchair there.
And I did recognize her because I recognized the voice, and it was bugging the shit out of me. She was the doctor in Predator too.
Yeah.
Well, I should have just messaged you because that was bugging me for like the first probably 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I was like,
Predator
I
2.
know that voice. I know that voice.
Lillian Siobhan. Which is probably like the big name in this film because everybody else is relatively unknown at that point. Like I said,
Right.
Linnea Quigley, this was probably like her 3rd or 4th gig or whatever. So she wasn't big yet. Not that she's really big as far as Hollywood goes, but to any kind of horror fan,
Yeah,
She
in
doesn't
our
know
in
who
our
she is.
world.
she wasn't established yet as a scream queen. But gets there, is about to exact his revenge. Has the axe up and gets blown away. The cops and Sister Margaret have arrived in the nick of time to save Mother Superior, and Billy is dead. Drops the axe, and of course, who is right there? The axe at his feet.
Oh, Ricky.
Brother Ricky. And as we pan up, and Ricky looks at Mother Superior and says, "Naughty." And we know the torch has been passed. They're setting up a fucking sequel.
Oh, God help us. Well, overall thoughts, Chuck. What do you think?
It's a good one that I'm definitely going to revisit before too long, because if you noticed, I've actually been quieter than usual this evening. I don't know. I just watched it the other night, and I don't remember everything in the movie. I remember bits and pieces and like big chunks, and I don't think all of them are in the right order. Like I remember shit, like certain deaths and stuff. I remember the plot and all that, but yeah, it's definitely. I need to give another watch, which I'm fine with. I know I liked it when I watched it, so yeah, yeah.
It was so good that he's dumb right now. He is speechless.
That's exactly what it is.
Although we did forget the best kill scene, oddly enough, in the film: the sledding beheading.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, because that happened so fast. The kid's coming down on the sled. Well, there's two kids, and one of them's coming down on a sled, and old Billy's just waiting there with the axe. Batter up! And fucking chops his head off.
And those kids, like they're not even like really kids sledding. They're like
they're like teenagers,
high school kids, and they're having such a fucking good time, and they're not even really going fast. Like the one kid's like, "Yeah, wee." And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
It's like
you guys are literally pushing each other down the fucking. You're pushing the whole time going down this fucking bank.
It's the shittiest hill. Like you're not, sled riding. You're just sitting on a piece of plastic pushing yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And they're having a blast. Things we used to do in the 80s instead of fucking being on our phones.
Oh, that's what we do.
So yeah, that's probably the best kill. That's probably the best kill of the movie. Well,
I like the antlers.
The antlers. Yeah,
the antler scene's dope.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Yeah,
and it looked really good too.
Yeah,
they did a real good job doing that.
I'm done. Okay.
So yeah,
he said he quit.
Oh,
he quit.
He couldn't take it anymore.
He said, "Fuck it."
But those were the best two kills. Oddly enough, all the other kills, you're thinking for a slasher movie, you're going to get some cool kills. Really, 84? They haven't really come up with the concept of doing the really crazy kills, the goofy kills, or anything like that. Everything's still kind of basic at that point, So, whatever. It doesn't stand out because of that. Later on, you go and see all these other flicks down the road, and you see all these crazy kills, and that's what makes it a little bit more enjoyable. And for this one, it's just kind of plain. It's like I want my barbecue chips. I don't want the plain chips. You know what I mean? And this feels like plain chips. Like I can kind of stomach it, but give me my barbecue chips. Give me some flavor. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, I think it has a straight to the. I'm sorry,
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just getting it has a straightforward approach to it. You gotta get the point. And then sometimes, like if you're in a certain kind of mood, depending on what it may be, it's not a bad one to put on. Like like it has. I don't know. I think it's a classic. I do. I know I need to watch it again, but I think it's a classic. I think it's probably one of the better Christmassy type fucking slasher films. Also for the fact that it has one of the coolest names, Silent Night,
right.
Deadly Night. Like that is such a movie that you would see in another movie, like a poster hanging on the wall. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's could they have done a lot more to it? Yeah. There could have been a lot more done to it, made a whole lot better of a movie. But, there's not a whole lot of flavor, to it. It's really kind of straightforward, to the point, most of the time. And, yeah, it's not really anything to write home of, but it's fun to an extent, just to have on when, the family is, by the fire, a couple nights before Christmas, and the tree is lit up, and You've already watched Black Christmas, and now you've got to watch one that's pretty decent.
And actually, it was originally called Sleigh Ride, and they ended up changing it, I think, in post to Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I'm glad they made that change because that would
yeah,
not feel the same way.
Yeah, that was a much better title the second time.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
But,
We're going to move on to the sequel.
Move on to Ricky, little brother.
And there's only one clip in the world that we could possibly show for this
Don't
movie.
spoil it yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Don't do it yet.
Don't do it yet?
You gotta pinch
put
it
the
off,
cookies out
man.
for Santa. Oh, yeah, we've been good. We've been good, motherfuckers, because we're going to get this clip.
Now, granted, the first 40 minutes of this movie is pretty much showing
Oh.
clips from the first
Already
movie.
eating my cookies.
And I don't know, like, was it written like that? Were they under like time pressure? What happened?
All right,
With
second film comes along. Harry Lee's directing it, and they
Mhm.
basically come to Harry Lee and they say, look, the first film got pulled. We're trying to recoup more money from it. You know, we're trying to, because back then it wasn't like you could just fucking go to video. You know, that really hadn't popularized yet. So they're basically saying, hey, we're looking, we filmed this movie, it got pulled. We're trying to figure out a way to kind of make more money on it. We want to take pretty much stock footage from the first one and then add a little bit more into it. And they didn't really make it as a sequel. They made it as kind of a continuation and just kind of make more money. And Harry Lee comes in and he was a big editor back then, and he does a good job. There's a couple of tracking shots in this film that really stick out to me, especially the scene in the neighborhood when he goes on the spree. But yeah, their whole concept was let's try to make some more money off this first film, which didn't end up happening. Fucking part 2 only grossed like 154K. It and the budget was 250K.
Ouch.
So they lost money. They lost money on the second one around.
Rightfully so, the movie sucked.
yeah.
That
But
movie
I think it was fucking hilarious though. Like that movie had me fucking dying.
But what's
No,
crazy
it
when
is.
you think about it,
Ugh.
what's crazy when you think about it, the first one, the budget was 750K. So you're getting Silent Night, Deadly Night for $750,000. Nightmare on Elm Street, their budget was 1.1 million. So only like 300K more. And that's the difference. Like if you compare, because they came out at the same exact time, if you compare Nightmare on Elm Street and Silent Night, Deadly Night, they're not even in the same ballpark. And that for that kind of money, you're like, what the hell did they spend 750K on? Especially on the second one, where you're spending 250K more. Like you 40 minutes of the footage is already in the can from the first film. So what the hell did you spend 250K on? Even
Yeah, it's pretty lazy. Like,
yeah.
completely lazy.
That's the way I took it.
When you all told me that you just skipped through like the first 40 minutes of it because it's just pretty much just like, I didn't realize you were fucking serious. I mean, I'm like, wow, okay. Like, I mean, I watched it because I needed a recap anyway. And but I'm like, wow, this movie is like 40 minutes into this shit, and I just watched this the other night. Like, what this really isn't a sequel. Like, I don't know what the fuck this shit is.
Yeah.
It's stock footage, and they're basically setting up. They're showing you what happened to Ricky once he grew up. He's giving you the rundown from everything that happened with his brother, which me and Chad talked about this. How does Ricky remember all of these things that happened? For one, okay, with the parents dying, he was like an infant.
So he was probably 1 at that.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years old. I don't know how you remember all that. But the even better part is he's telling the story of Billy killing the people in the store and going on his killing spree. And he wasn't there for that. And everybody that was there for that is dead. So who the fuck told him that story? That's what I want to. Like, how is he telling this? Like, nobody knows. Like, everybody in the store, including his brother, was dead. So who gave these details? Nobody. There's no way.
That guy was fucking annoying too.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Like, those fucking interviews, like, whenever the doctor and him are talking, like, that shit was funny because as soon as the doctor walks in, as soon as you actually see Billy or Ricky, I mean, he's sitting there smoking a cigarette, staring off, and then the doctor comes in. He's like, "Hey, how are you?" He's like, "Fuck you."
Real over the top confrontational. Eric Freeman, another green actor who hadn't really had any roles before this, coming in as the brother Ricky. It was all grown up, and he said he only worked on the film for like 5 days.
Yeah, I was
They
going to
only-
say they shot this in a hurry. You could tell.
Yeah, they spent $250K, and they only filmed for like a week, from what I've heard. And and Eric Freeman, who played Ricky, only got paid $1,600. So I don't know where their budget went.
Up the nose, because this movie sucked.
Yeah,
Maybe.
it was the '80s.
They're like, hey, we're just taking a bunch of cocaine and make this really shitty film. Is everybody cool with that? Yeah, who wants to get the first rail?
And the only set for most of the movie was in the
Fuck it, man.
the
Just use the old stuff.
doctor's office, and then the rest was out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. I mean, there was that part in the field where they used that other actor for a younger Ricky, but
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier. So almost the same exact scenario plays out. Ricky's, just happily walking along through the woods, not a care in the world, and he comes across this couple that's laying out in the field having a picnic or whatever. And of course, your first instinct when you see a couple out in a field having a picnic is to hide behind a tree and watch them. And
I mean,
sure as shit,
yeah, exactly.
that's
That's what I would do. I mean,
and then as if right on cue, the boyfriend that's with the girl, decides, hey, I need some ass. You better give it up, or else,
I'm taking it.
It's like, yeah, it's like, all you do is either you sleep with me or I rape you. I
These
don't
are
know
your
how-
options.
I don't
That's
know
when
how
the-
the 80s. I wasn't grown up in the 80s, but
that's when the porn addiction really comes out. When you're just like, no, it's cool. Like I know what's going to happen next. I'm just going to sit over here and watch.
So
Well,
same exact thing happens. He attacks her, rips her shirt open, and of course Ricky comes into the
CMO.
action.
well, he
comes
did give
over-
up at one point to go get a beer.
Yeah, well, he said,
After she kicked him in the
I'm gonna go
nuts.
get a beer, then I'll come back. So he goes over to the Jeep to get a beer and gets it, and then it's fucking. So he looks in the mirror, the side mirror of the driver's side, and to look at because the chick slapped him or whatever. So he's like checking his mouth to see if he's bleeding or whatever, looking in the mirror, and then he starts moving forward, and then you cut to a shot and you see Ricky's in the driver's seat. How do you not see another person sitting in your driver's seat? You're right next to the window. Whatever. And stranger in my Jeep, and you just stand there looking at him like, hey, what are you doing? And runs him over continuously, back and forth.
4 times.
Yeah,
And
that was pretty funny how he kept backing over and going.
Then
And
you
then
see
the
his arm
woman-
twitch, and he's just like, eh.
And the woman's watching this all unfold, and she's kind of in horror, like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" And you think back to the first film, and the reaction that the girl had. Now, like we said, he gets out and walks over, and she's like, "Thank you." she thanks him, which it makes a little bit more sense because he saved her from being raped or attacked or whatever. But now I'm thinking, that chick, like Ricky just taken off. The chick's probably like, well, how am I going to explain this to the police? My boyfriend got ran over, and the guy that did it is just gone.
Prime suspect.
Yeah,
I was going to say number one.
Didn't
Yeah.
she disappear?
She just
Like-
walked off.
Oh, did
Yeah.
she walk off? I thought she disappeared, and I was wondering if maybe he imagined that
No, she just
she
walked off.
said thank you.
Oh, you
'Cause
thought
that's
that
a-
was like a kind of a dream sequence type thing, where
I
where
thought
he's
maybe
imagining it?
I thought maybe he imagined her saying thank you because that's the reaction that he wanted, because he thinks he's the hero.
I don't think she disappeared though. I think she just
Okay.
walked away.
Did I just dream that up?
You're
You
probably
might
multitasking because you always do.
Oh,
You're probably on your phone
you
doing
know
some
what do you
shit.
do?
Looked up and she was gone.
Ricky finds a love interest. They go on some dates. That all pans out. They have a scene in the theater where
That
he
guy
ends up-
deserved to die.
where you have a critic sitting in the theater criticize. Of course, they go on a date to see a movie about a guy who's a killer Santa Claus. How apropos. Of course. And the guy in the theater in the back row is criticizing the film, and he's doing the criticisms of what people were saying about the first Silent Night, Deadly Night. Kind of as a joke, as a riff on them, making fun of themselves. And of course, he gets frustrated.
One of his vet or his Mustang.
His car was broke down or something like that. And of course, there's a confrontation, and we get a "That's what she said" line from 1984.
We did, yes. Innovators.
What part was that?
Where the ex-boyfriend was like kind of being rude and everything towards the girl, and Ricky steps up, gets in his face, and he's like, "That's enough." And he's like, "Oh, he speaks," or something like that, and he goes, "I said that's enough." And the guy is like, "That's what she said when I fucked her brains out."
Okay, yeah.
And that guy delivers that line perfectly too.
And he was like the biggest looking douche too, though. Like he was fucking great though. He cracked me up.
And then immediately has to put on his sunglasses for the kill scene, which is about to happen.
Which was one of the better ones, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because the hood of his car is opened up, and again with his super strength, he pushes him into the hood of the car. Oh, that's right. He was trying to get a jump. So those cables were on there, and he puts one in his mouth and jacks the voltage up as high as it can go. And I think just his eyeballs blow up or something.
Yeah.
I thought for sure his whole head was going to explode. But
that would have been better, but they didn't want to fuck up the engine to the car because that was a nice car.
And then,
and
then the girlfriend reacts the same way as the woman in the first film reacts. Like, "Are you crazy? What are you doing?" And of course, he's like, "Well, now I got to kill you." Pulls the antenna off the car and strangles her. And then,
as one is to do,
then conveniently enough, there's a cop right on the scene with a gun pointed at the guy. "Hey, asshole, freeze!" And
he just turns around and grabs the gun out of his fucking hand.
Ends up. He walks right up to the perp with the gun and says, "I know how to use this." And then Ricky grabs the gun, turns it, and the guy shoots him. The cop shoots himself in the head.
Yeah,
and that starts the most interesting sequence of this film.
And this, I just had to point out the Barney Fife looking cop, with his hat up like this, and there's 2 dead bodies. He just killed 2 people. Shoot him!
Crazy. He probably should call for backup.
Yeah. So then Ricky picks up the gun, and it's time. He's transitioned, kind of like we saw Billy in the first one, where that switch went off. He's been killing, but now he's in full kill mode. He has the gun, and of course, Eric Freeman, who's playing Ricky, is just looking at this gun and laughing. He's very maniacal, over the top, and it's a very cool. Like I wish they would have done this tracking shot a little bit better, because you see him holding the gun and laughing, and then Lee kind of swivels around him and follows him as he goes into the street, and it's broad daylight, and it's kind of a terrifying scene, because it's like Ricky has a gun and he's crazy, and you follow him where he's looking at the gun and laughing, and they do this tracking shot where they come around him and then they show the neighborhood, but they don't do a wide shot, so you don't really see that the neighborhood is good. It could have been better, but it's one of those things where it's like, now it's on. He's got the gun and he doesn't care anymore. And of course, he starts walking down the street like the Terminator almost. A guy comes out of his house. "Hey, what's going on?" Boom, he gets blown away. And then we get
this glorious clip.
Enjoy.
Garbage day! No!
Yes. The classic line, "Garbage day."
I hate when a movie is kind of like as soon as a slasher and guns are used.
Yeah.
It just kind of kills it for me. This guy is such a douchebag and this the same kind of person I can't fucking stand. Like, I just hate everything about this movie. I just did not like it at all. I just thought it was just complete garbage.
My only
Oh.
favorite part was the killing spree.
Yeah, that was the good shit. I mean, that was pretty much the only part of the movie besides the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they had like some
And
side.
And again, I love that shot. If you go back and watch it, where the guy's taking out the trash, and they show he's there. It's a behind the can shot, where as soon as he picks up the trash can, then you see Ricky, and that's it's just a cool shot where it's like, oh, all of a sudden there's Ricky. I wish they would have done like kind of a zoom where like he lifts up the trash can and then it zooms right into Ricky, and then he does the whole garbage day and blows the guy away. But still, classic line. It was a huge meme. I think at one point that people were spreading out over the internet about some shit. But he goes on. He kills a couple more people. Guy, another interesting thing. I don't know. Did you guys catch this? There's a car driving down the street, so he starts shooting at this car.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess he hits the driver.
Yeah.
And the car goes, and they have this stunt where the car hits like a mound of dirt, and it goes up on its side. And I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, holy shit. Because if you watch, the car goes, and the guy that's standing there, it's actually a stunt man. It's not Freeman. It's Spiro Rosatos, who's a big stunt guy in Hollywood now. This was early on, but this was one of his first gigs. And he's standing there, and the car literally comes inches from hitting him. And it's not just a scene where like a car is about to hit somebody. The car is up on its side. So it could have very easily just completely fell over on top of this guy and killed him.
It looked like he just moved his head like that's how close it was. He just moved his head like that, and that car drove by.
Yeah, he just steps out of the way, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was a really cool stunt."
He felt the wind from that shit. Like, it moved his hair
for sure.
Yeah. So there's that, and then the cops show up, trying to get Ricky to put down the gun, and he turns the gun on himself, and all of a sudden, all the cops are like, "Oh, don't do it, don't."
Don't be a fool.
Yeah, all of a sudden, apparently that's all you have to do, because you just murdered a bunch of people, and they got guns drawn on you. And if you turn the gun on yourself, then all of a sudden they put all their guns down. They're like, "Oh, wait, don't do it. Don't, you got something to live for, prison for the rest of your life." But whatever. And of course, Ricky is out of bullets. He should have been out of bullets a lot sooner, but whatever.
He's counting.
When they needed to be out of bullets, it was the correct time, and he goes
It's the
to
great
jail.
80s bullet count that didn't exist back in the day.
Right.
And back then too, with the stunts, I mean, there was no CGI back then. Like, I remember Mad Max, that fucking one guy almost got killed. But yeah, I remember that part where that car was flying. And clearly it wasn't him. The guy had this long curly hair, and he was a lot smaller. But I just saw his head move like that, and that car flew right by.
That's probably
him.
where
Like,
the budget went to there. He was like, if I'm going to do this scene, you're going to pay me.
Maybe.
So thank God they got the shot, though.
Perfect shot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ricky goes to jail. Yeah. And that's where we saw him, telling his story to the doctor and everything like that. Then kills the doctor, and he's loose again. And where does he need to go? Back to Mother Superior. Got to get that revenge for Billy.
And she was definitely in the wheelchair with her face burned at this point.
Yeah.
I remember that for sure.
Yeah.
She had a stroke. She's in a wheelchair, and he goes back. Not really any substance to it. He shows up. They have a little bit of dialogue back and forth, and of course, you don't see the kill. He's about to kill her, and then it cuts away, and Sister Margaret and the cops show up, and Ricky's nowhere to be found, and they're searching around looking for Mother Superior, calling out to her. She's not responding. They finally find her in the dining room, sitting there at the table, not moving or anything like that. And Sister Margaret goes over, and then the head falls off, and we find out that Ricky managed to cleanly cut this head off and have it still sitting on this person's body with no blood flowing or anything like that. Nothing
It
that
was
would
that clean of a cut.
Yeah, like you've completely decapitated this person, and you've managed to just sit the head back on the body, and there's no blood or anything like that. You know, you would think the whole place would be covered in blood. Whatever, you know.
Yes.
Semantics.
Killer of the Year award goes to
Speaking
a haircut.
a killer haircut right there.
Well, and then they end up finally gunning him down. He goes out the window, and we think he's dead. Should be dead. And the last shot of the film, I believe, was him opening his eyes. Did he say naughty that time or punish? I don't remember.
These are naughty.
Naughty.
I'm pretty sure.
The end.
Question mark.
Lord.
Oh, now on to the third one. The highlight of the third one, I believe, was our good friend Bill Mosley, Chop Top,
Yep.
which surprised me, and which had the greatest makeup I think I've ever seen. And I so wish they would have let him play that more over the top than what he
I didn't
did.
realize he was. I didn't realize he was in it.
Oh, me neither. Because I think they showed his name in the opening credits, and I was like, "Do what now?" Either I saw it in the opening credits or it was on the description.
It was like the second name.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" But God, I wish they would have let him play that way more over the top, especially him, because he could have did a lot more. Because that fucking, he has this like thing on his head with his brain and the liquids in there, and he's got all these scars.
See, the whole time I was watching this, I was like, "How can I remake that?"
And
And I think I figured it out. So I'm gonna be on a project mission here soon.
that's funny because I was thinking, how could I get that? Because I'd wear it.
I mean, you were
because
the guinea pig for the prop anyway. Once it's made,
Oh hell yeah!
Ricky was shot by the cops, and now they're trying to explain how he survived. The doctors took his body. They were able to save his brain, and he is now in a coma and on life support, or basically, just in a vegetative state. And they're trying to establish some kind of line of communication with him and our new lead, who is a psychic who is blind.
Yeah.
Whatever, it's like, how much weird shit can we throw into this? But
I think at that time, at that time there was like a lot of movies that were coming out like on USA and shit.
when did that one?
Yeah.
The one Jason.
Yeah, because Part 7 had the psychic a couple years before, and
No, someone was always blind, like in like the movies like fucking. What was the Lifetime movies would come out and be like a woman who was blind who has like all kinds of stuff. USA would come out with these fucking like movies that'd be like Saturday afternoons, starring Rebecca De Mornay. You know what I mean?
And there were shows
almost
like
seemed like-
Unsolved Mysteries and all this stuff that talked about like police psychics and all. It was
Yeah.
kind of a newer thing back then, and a lot of movies
Miss Cleo was out.
were doing. Was Miss Cleo out? Miss Cleo.
I don't think
I don't think
Yeah.
she was out till like the 90s.
I can't do
Mid-90s.
the accent. I can't. Do
But
the
that was
Jamaican.
a very popular theme. Like it was in the franchise. It was in
Mhm.
Nightmare, right? Where she was a psychic and she got into Freddy's head or whatever. Right? Am I remembering that right? Whatever.
It was something like that, but it wasn't totally like that. But yeah, it's in the same vein.
Yeah,
like-
everybody
I think
had powers, magical powers
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah, I think in Freddy's Dead they Doc used some kind of device to link into the dream. or
Yeah, but there
something.
was all that kind of stuff was mainly just like in the dream state.
Yeah,
But I mean, there was a similar,
Yeah, but in Friday Part 7 they definitely had the psychic.
yeah.
So yeah,
And yeah, at least she was pleasing to look at. She looked a lot like Jennifer Connelly. I thought she reminded me
I thought the same thing. Yeah,
you know who she looked like to me? I thought she looked like Alicia Silverstone with dark hair.
Really? I didn't see that.
Yeah, that's what popped in my head. I don't
she
know.
didn't
why.
have the lips. Didn't have the lips. The lips at one time where I just thought were just luscious. I always liked her lips. It was her own kind of lips. and now apparently she like feeds her kids with those lips, like like a bird does. I don't know what's fucking wrong with her, but yeah.
And the biggest distraction in the movie for me was that guy and that fucking hair.
Oh,
And then
I know.
At some point, he has his shirt off. And that
He gets in the
fucking-
bathtub.
Yeah, that's what it was. And it
It's
was
so
just like,
bad.
oh god!
Her
And
brother.
then that chick. At first, I got him confused because they looked a lot alike.
Yeah.
The two girls with the dark hair. I think one had brown eyes, one had blue eyes.
Yeah.
High definition.
I wasn't looking at their eyes.
Yeah, well, you know. Well, she did pop. The other girl popped in the bathtub, and that was nice to look at. That was our titty shot. Was that the only titty shot of the whole movie?
No, I think there's one other one too.
There was one other one. Okay,
I don't know. It might have been.
but I believe they showed a flashback yet again of the first one.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Okay.
Another flashback breast shot. You
Yeah.
know,
They could have done so much with this one, honestly. Like, because two is you've already figured out I didn't like two, but I mean, like the third one, like the idea of certain things, I was like, okay, this is some crazy shit. There's a guy running around with a brain and a jar, head, whatever. It's kind of fucked up, you know. Jingle bells, jingle bells. I don't get it. Whatever. They could have fucked with it a little bit more. But I don't know. This movie was a mess.
to me, this
Like
is where the franchise derails because
Yeah.
if you don't include Bill Moseley as Ricky, it has no relation to the first two films whatsoever.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you got a psychic, you got all this weird shit going on. Probably the easiest gig of Bill Moseley's life. Like, oh, hey, we got a role for you.
Mhm.
Sure,
Yeah.
what is it? Well, the first 20% of the film, you're going to be a vegetable and in a coma. Oh, okay. And then later on, you're going to be awake and you're going to kind of be stumbling around. Any dialogue? You say, Laura.
Yeah.
And that's all you got to do, Bill.
If we ever see him at a con again, we're going to have to talk to him about this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wonder what he thinks about it.
Yeah. Because I don't ever really hear it mentioned when Bill Moseley's talked about like his
Yeah,
career.
I had no idea he was in this.
Yeah.
I think he did. I remember him talking about it in some kind of interview where he was saying, like, I think this film was the only film he's ever cried in. And if you go in, there's a scene where he's in the
Oh,
coma,
Yeah,
and
he's
like
laying there.
like a teardrop rolls down his face or whatever like that. But
It's
I
never
think he was
Santa
also-
Claus is. Wasn't Santa
think-
Claus in the room with him?
Not at that point, I don't think. I think the doctor was talking to him. But and then there's something about the scene with when he gets to the granny's house and she's like so nice to him and serving him this food and thinks he's like disabled and all this stuff. And he was saying how like it was like an emotional scene or something like that. But yeah, he said this film is the only film he's ever really cried on.
Disabled. He has his brain in a jar.
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, I
Well,
guess that would definitely qualify.
But he had a beanie cap on at that point where you couldn't see the brain.
That's-
his
that's the-
fucking
that's-
head. is like-
The one scene that really killed me though was fucking like he escapes the fucking hospital or whatever, and then he's hitchhiking.
Somehow.
Some
Yeah.
dude like if you see a dude wearing a fucking like hospital gown with a fucking brain dome fucking
Brain
container on your head, I don't think I'm gonna pull over and stop and pick him up. Like I'm probably just gonna keep driving. I'm not gonna be like, hey buddy, how you doing? I hate fucking Christmas. Have a sweater. Like,
He throws that ugly Christmas sweater on his lap. He's like, "What the hell happened to you?"
And the whole premise they introduced was that she was psychic and she could get into his brain, but somehow with her touching his soul or whatever, he could see into her as well. But conveniently enough, none of this ever plays out except for a couple different times where
Yeah.
apparently he needs directions and
yeah.
then nothing else. Like she
Yeah.
like you would think that okay, later on she's going to be able to see where he's at and hide from him, but that's not the case. The psychic crap doesn't come into play at all. Pretty much the rest of the film. You would have
See-
thought that somehow he beats them to the grandmother's house too. Like I don't know, whatever.
See, I agree with Chuck because like they should have played with that a lot more.
Yeah,
I mean, if
one
they're
thing,
gonna fight,
too-
if they're gonna be weird like that, I mean, might as well go all out.
Yeah,
Well, then like the
Maybe
one nurse,
yeah.
maybe construct it better instead of it just being a big hot pile of mixing of garbage.
and like I said, with having
It's not,
Bill,
it's I liked it better than the second one.
oh for sure, but
was-
like
I was
having,
like, really psychic. And oh, his brain is just there.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's
Because I read
That's
the
something
description
new.
for it, and I was like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
I'm in. And like having Chop Top in it, like I said, with that fucking costume, man, you had to go over the top. It would have been so much better, especially having Bill.
and it was
That
3
part.
years after Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So
you know what?
I kept thinking of Man with a Screaming Brain.
See, yeah, you could have did shit like that.
and
I think if they're gonna ever, I don't usually say this, but I think if they wanted to start up a franchise again, and I mean really kick ass on it, and bring in some fucking violence and some gore, and really fucking just puncture some fucking crybabies' faces in, they can fucking do it, and I'd be okay with it with these, because I don't think these are the greatest movies. I mean, the first one's all right, second one is not all right, third one is kind of interesting. And I don't even know about the others.
Oh, you gotta watch him. Trust me.
Oh, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Trust
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna rewatch all
wait till you
these.
get to 4. You get to 4, and you're like, "What the fuck just happened to this franchise?"
I was
think
told
me-
earlier. I was told earlier that 4 and 5 are awesome. So I don't know.
Me and Mike
Anything.
didn't make it through part 4.
No, I watched part 4.
Oh, did you go back
And-
and watch the rest of it? I never did.
I don't know what this director's fascination with bugs was, but
Oh yeah.
I mean, but think about it though. Like if there's a lot of up and coming like fucking horror directors coming up with shit. If the right person was to get a hold of this, and that right person is not Rob Zombie, okay, we don't need that. We just need to stay
No.
away.
Well, he might just actually do decent on this just because of like just the random violence you could put in that movie.
It would pretty much just turn out well. You know,
Yeah,
actually,
they-
I guess putting it that way, yeah, you might be right about that. So I'll scrap that last comment for the record.
What always killed me in the movie though was the one nurse was always like, she can see what he sees, but can he see what she sees? I'm like, she's fucking blind. She can't see nothing. I'm like,
yeah,
he's gonna be lost.
yeah. The premise didn't really make a whole lot of sense. You know, it's like they had an idea, and they were like, "Well, we'll just throw this in and to explain something," but it just completely didn't make any sense at some point. We don't really know why he's going after her. He has some kind of fascination with her because I guess she's touched his soul in some kind of way.
Yeah, that's kind
But,
of how they played it off.
And then the other thing about this was not only that you have a shitty script, you have the fact that he's on the loose now, and most of the kills you don't really see the kills. Like the first thing, he gets up from the coma and he goes at the Santa Claus, and you just have this POV shot where the Santa Claus is like no, and you obviously he's been killed. You don't see it happen though.
Right.
Then when he's hitchhiking, he stops at the gas station, and the gas station attendant, puts down the phone. He's trying to have phone sex with his girlfriend, and I'll be right back. And goes out, and you hear some noise. You don't see him get killed either.
Well, same with the
And then-
receptionist too.
Yeah, I mean you see the aftermath,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
see.
He's standing by the desk and kind of walks beside it, and then he just disappears.
So it's like
like
you got a
cutscene.
bad script, but you're having a slasher movie where you're not getting to see the slashing. So it's a
Right.
double whammy. And then of course he gets to the grandmother's house. Don't see the grandmother get killed either.
Right.
You know,
You don't even see the grandmother period after that, do you? I don't think they ever found her, did they?
Later
I
down
don't
in the
remember.
basement.
I don't think.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
because she's
But
having those visions of her grandmother being alive and talking to her, and then she's walking around and she finds the body. So,
Is there only
um,
5 of these movies?
They
Or is there more?
there's another one that came out in 2012 that was kind of like a remake sort of it called Silent Night.
Okay, I haven't watched that one yet. That one
I'm-
seems all right. From what
Well,
But they're
I always
Go ahead.
wondered if this is another case of similar to the Hellraiser sequels where they were just other horror scripts that were setting around.
That wouldn't surprise me either
And
because
they-
I mean
and
that seems like that.
And they pick because the 3 on goes straight to video. I think it did.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's probably what happened with that too.
But yeah, you know who the brother reminded me of in that one. Do you know Jungle Boy from AEW? Jack Perry.
I heard the name, but I don't know what he looks like.
Luke Perry's son is a professional wrestler in AEW.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He
Oh,
goes by
shit.
Jungle Boy. If you pull up a picture of Jungle Boy, you'll see because it's the long curly hair and it looks just like the brother from Part 3. That's what jumped out at me. But
Okay.
anyway, so they're the brother, the sister, and the girlfriend are at the granny's house, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. Something's awry, and you saw the picture, yeah. Yep. Zoom in on the face if you can.
Like minus the fucking cotton field on his chest.
Yep, there you go.
He's kind of doing the sleepaway camp look, like stance and look.
Yeah.
Look at him. He looks like Felissa Rose face with a man's body.
Now, what's funny to me is, so they know now that somebody is there because the brother's car is missing, and then it got trashed somewhere or whatever.
Yeah, they
So
wrecked it in the
they're-
woods or some shit.
Yeah, they're suspicious of what's going on, and they're just chilling. And the girlfriend looks out the window of the front door or whatever, and then she turns around. She says a line, and then immediately Bill Moseley punches through the door and grabs a hold of her.
That was the most hilarious part.
Yeah.
And then, so the brother comes over and is like punching on the arm or whatever. I think he might even stab the arm or whatever.
Stabbed him in the arm.
Punches through the other with his other arm, grabbing a
Pulls the
hold of
knife
her.
out.
You know, they still got a hold of her and everything like that. They finally get his hands off her, and the hands retreat out of the holes.
Well,
But
first he
they
punches
just kinda-
the door to get the knife out of his arm.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I
And
think he
then,
stabs him with a regular kitchen knife, just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it just goes all the way through his
So
arm.
they just gave him a weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that door
and then-
that door looked like shit.
Yeah, that was from Dollar General. That door, because he just punched right through that like it was no big deal. A coma, mind you, a guy that's been in a coma for 6 years, who's just able to get up and walk around with, you know, his legs aren't atrophied or anything like that. He's just good to go all of a sudden. You know, whatever, semantics. But yeah, he punches through this door. He grabs a hold of the girlfriend. They fight him off. His arms go away, and then they're just kind of like, okay, we need to leave. Like they're so calm about everything that happens in this thing. Like if a guy just punched through my door, I would be like opening the door, be like, I'm gonna fuck you up, pal. What is going on here? You grab my girlfriend, like I'm gonna kick your ass, you know. But they're just like, oh no.
Yeah. And what's
No
great,
big-
they're setting up against that same door for probably 3 to 5 minutes. It's like,
Mhm.
get the fuck out of the way. And then they block the door off with a piano. Well,
Yeah.
Chop Top proceeds to
Just gonna-
bust through the other door at the other end of the house. So that was a complete waste of time.
Well, that made-
after he allegedly killed the brother.
Yeah, and he had a shotgun.
That he
didn't
wasn't
go
sure if
well.
it worked or not.
That didn't go well.
Yeah. You know, whatever. And then the doctor shows up, you know, because he stole the cop car, and
Yeah, that whole fucking thing with
Calamity.
the cop and the doctor was like, what the fuck? He's like,
although
you
you got Robert,
He's like, you're going to
got
kill him?
Robert
He's like,
Culp.
if need to.
you got Robert Culp, a seasoned actor, who's playing the cop in this one. But yeah,
Which was weird. I don't like
Right?
sometimes I don't know.
It shocked me whenever I saw him coming through the fucking hospital the first time. I was like, what the fuck?
What are you doing
Yeah.
here?
like wait, I didn't think we got real actors on these movies.
Right. You got 2 of them in this one.
Yeah. So yeah, calamity ensues. Of course, the doctor thinks he can reach him, and he doesn't. He gets stabbed to death, and he kills the brother allegedly. He stabs the brother. We think he's dead. He goes after the 2 chicks, you know, and he breaks into the house and they're hiding. They go and barricade themselves in the bedroom. Oh, well, there's another gun under one of these beds. It doesn't have to be under this bed. It must be in another room. Okay, I'll go get it and come back. So she goes to the other room, and conveniently, he's right under the bed waiting for her and drags her under. Like he knew she was going to under that bed at some point. Like just a whole lot of leap of faith situations in this film. But I don't know. Whatever.
Whatever. That's
Anyway,
the word of the
he
night.
kills the girlfriend. The blind chick is just falling all over the place. She goes down in a basement. She thinks her grandmother's there, and she's just having visions. Then she gets the courage from these visions to be able to fight off Ricky. So she busts the light to the. She busts the light in the basement.
Oh, that's right.
And she's like, "Oh, now we're even." And he comes down the steps, and the whole room is pretty much illuminated from the light outside of the basement. Where if you're anybody that's anybody, you can walk in there and clearly see that this girl is standing there. But I get it. I mean, what are you going to do? A whole scene in pitch black? Whatever.
Might as well.
But yeah, he can't see her. He's like swinging around trying to get her, and then she attacks him. That doesn't work out, and boom! Surprise! The brother is back. He is not dead. He's back to save the day. Shoots him point blank with this double barrel shotgun, and just like the Terminator, fucking Ricky gets back up and manages to come and grab the gun and choke the brother out again. And it's never really confirmed. So he chokes the brother out. You think, okay,
This movie's exhausting.
It is.
You think, okay, is the brother
Upbeat.
finally dead? I don't know what the fuck just happened. And the cop shows up. They kill. Well, the cop shows up and sees that Ricky, who has tried to go over and get to, I think her name, Laura, of course. As she had a piece of wood or something like that and stabbed it through him and killed him. So, but what's weird is she stabs him and we think he's dead. The cop shows up and they take her out and she's in the police car and they're stretchering a body out into an ambulance, but it's covered up with a sheet. I think. I don't know if I just didn't see this clearly or not, but they stretcher the body out into the ambulance and the paramedics are like, oh. We don't know about this one. We'll see if we can save him. I was like, are they talking about the brother or about Ricky? like because we think both of them are dead, but like who are they trying to save? And the whole time this blind chick is just very chill about everything. It's just oh my god. No, she's sitting in the car. All this shit is happening. Fuck me. Her grandmother's dead. Her brother is almost dead. Maybe might be dead. And she's sitting there in the car, like kind of smirking. Merry Christmas. And what the fuck? And then we have a shot of Bill Moseley with the brain cap on and everything like that in a tuxedo. It looks like, where he's like, and Happy New Year. And that's how the film ends.
So good. I mean, what?
That's a B-movie slasher. Nothing makes sense. There's
No sense makes sense. Charlie said it best.
more, like you guys said, definitely could have done more with this film.
Yeah.
But
I think this one, like I said, if you're gonna go weird, like completely weird with it, I mean,
Mhm.
might as well
Good.
go all out. But
Yeah.
they really didn't, and fell flat.
or at least have some good kill scenes, and they didn't have that at all. I don't think there's a good kill in
No.
that whole film, is there?
That's the one
Wow.
that saves a lot of horror movies. It's like, okay, plot's kind of acting kind of sucks. Hey, but there's tits and a lot of blood. They fell flat on the.
Didn't even get that. So
Oh, really? You didn't even
Part
see anybody
three.
really get killed.
Part
Like-
3, 2 thumbs down. That's on the naughty list.
Well,
I don't even really think we should talk about 4 or
I'm
5.
good.
Nah, I think the trilogy's good. No, we're good.
Dude, 4 and 5 were just rough. Like I
I
don't
haven't
really.
seen
Like,
any of this.
That's the story of Billy and Ricky in a nutshell.
and then
You
it
follow
changes
from start
completely.
to finish. Yeah, 4 goes off the rails. 5 is actually not a bad movie as
It's
far
not.
as the kills and like going in a different direction where they actually did some good stuff with it. It doesn't really connect back to the other films, but not so bad. They're just kind of using the name, and they did an all right film. In part
See, I was
5.
wondering if that came out first or if Demonic Toys came out first. Like I wanted to look that shit up, but I totally forgot about it.
Not sure, but part 5 they get motherfucking Mickey Rooney, who was he was
Really?
a big one of the people in Hollywood that was protesting the original film. So he was against the original film. And I think from what I read online, they kind of tricked him into this role because they knew he was against the first film. So what they did was they cast him, and I think he was under the impression that the film was called The Toy Maker. He didn't realize that it had the Silent Night, Deadly Night connotation on it. So they
That's
kind of
funny.
tricked him into being in that film.
Because that's
So-
what he was, though. He was Joe Petto.
Joe Petto.
Petto's Toys.
What's the price he got when that movie came out?
I swear, I think that happens a lot, like a lot more than
The
what.
funniest shit in that movie, though, is whenever he gets all drunk and then he starts arguing with his son. And then he fucking smashes a Jack Daniels bottle over his son's head and pushes him down these fucking stairways in the basement. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Whoops.
What? All right.
I forget his fucking son's name in that movie. It was a weird name too.
Maybe I will have to check this out.
Was it by any chance Pinocchio?
Yes, actually, his name was Pino.
Pinocchio? Was it?
Yeah,
Oh, you fucking-
that's what I'm saying. I don't know how I
was
forget that,
doing
but yeah,
that-
his
I
name
was
was
doing that
fucking
as a-
Pino.
I was doing that as a fucking rib off the
No, it really was. I don't know if his middle name was
Petto.
Chino.
Gino.
Pino Chino.
Now I gotta pull up real quick. I want to see this. Maybe it was just Pino, but you 2 and 2 together. If this is Geppetto and Pinocchio, fuck me.
But then, like, somehow he turns into a fucking toy. So he's made out of all plastic. And he has, like,
And
just
that's
his
where-
son's face on there. And
maybe
then it
that's
just
where they got the
takes a
idea.
really weird, creepy turn. He even,
And
like,
maybe
takes
that's where
all
they
his
got-
clothes off and shows that he's fucking anatomically correct like a Ken doll. And then he tries to fucking rape this bitch. And I'm like, how are you going to do anything? And he's like, I want you to be my mom. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow.
That's where they got the inspiration for the TV show Small Wonder.
Could
Robot
be.
Boy. We'll do Robot Girl. Speaking of Robot Girls, they got another horror movie coming out, Megan, which is
Yeah.
basically Small
February, I
Wonder.
believe.
I'm not sure, somewhere in there.
Small Wonder spiced up a notch.
Yeah, it's like a horror version of Small Wonder. So that might be interesting.
Yeah, we did a Small Wonder show on our PTV shit that we were doing.
And it was great.
Yeah,
I used to like that show when I was a kid, but going back and watching it as an adult, it was a little
Oh,
disturbing.
man. It
I
was.
don't think I remember it.
Oh,
I think
Fucking-
it came on USA or something. One of
I'm
the-
sure if I probably saw something, I probably know, remember what it was.
Like, dude makes this little robotic daughter, and she's just fucking is dressed like
it's
a
just weird.
fucking maid.
Oh, wait. No, I do remember that. Yeah. Did she wear, kind of like a Donna Reed kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, I do remember that then.
red
Hey,
dress
like-
on all the time. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing peculiar about this little girl who wears the same red dress all the time and talks like this.
Yeah, okay, I do remember that shit.
I am a cousin from out of town.
Yeah.
Not weird at all. But whatever.
Oh,
Well, anyway, I guess we'll just go ahead and wrap this up, though, because I'm feeling a little loopy after all these movies. But
Man,
before
you
we
and me
start to
both.
wrap things up, it is time for the clip of the week, in which we will pick a random clip from a random movie and see what happens.
I don't even know what this is. Dave does
Curious.
this stuff incognito.
To the randomizer. Amazing that you were having to find live news footage of people that were leaving the Silent Night, Deadly Night screening. That's exactly what happened after they saw part 3. They just found the biggest mower that they could find and laid underneath it. Clearly, that was the happening with the good old Mark Wahlberg.
That's what I did. That's what I did after I watched Halloween Ends. I went outside and started the lawn.
No shit, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I was waiting for the fucking randomizer to bring up Kincaid again. Shit.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
That's
man.
funny.
That's great.
Oh,
But-
God.
There is a silver lining here. They're saying that Silent Night, Deadly Night remake in the works. Orwo Studios, Black Hanger Studios have acquired the rights to remake the controversial Christmas slasher. They said it was going to come out this year, but obviously that's not the case. So I don't know if it's been on the back burner or we're going to get it next year. Fingers crossed.
Maybe Terrifier and it being out and it being as gory and shit as it is, maybe we'll give more freedom for other movies to come out and be a little bit more extra, if you know what I mean.
Well, Violent Night comes out tomorrow, I believe.
Yep.
Tomorrow or Friday.
Well, it officially comes out Friday. They have pre-screenings tomorrow. I'm actually going to go see it tomorrow night. Are we going to talk about that here soon?
we have. Let's see what's on the advent calendar.
All right.
Uh,
Cue the advent calendar.
For God, love of God, kill it. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, we haven't even explained the advent calendar.
Oh, okay. Back up.
That might
Yeah,
help.
There's that.
People are like, what the
What the
fuck?
fuck? So between now and Christmas, we're
Can't
going
all
to
be
pick. How
winners,
many
kid.
movies do we want to pick from the calendar?
Well, between now it's the first. We got 24 days before Christmas. We got to go through 24 films.
Okay, so next week. Nice.
What?
What could it be? Oh,
Scrooged.
classic.
Classic. It's a good one.
So just one at a time, or
No, we'll probably if we're
I had
going to
do a
cover
few.
24 films in like
4 weeks.
we probably got to do like 6 a week. So obviously we're not going to go into a deep dive like this, but maybe 10 minutes of review of everything. Because a lot of these, like Scrooge, people know Scrooge. We'll just go over and kind of give our thoughts and maybe a little factoids that people enjoy.
all right? Should I
Oh, we can
open
go
another
for the
one?
movie just like the other ones.
Yeah, open
Yeah.
another one. I'm curious now. What's on the agenda?
Is that Gremlins?
Gremlins,
Gremlins.
I can dig it.
another classic.
Let's not go much further because I kind of like the mystery of it, like knowing every week.
Yeah,
Should we do-
actually, yeah, that's probably a good idea. We'll just save it for when we're actually in the film. And it's like as soon as we open it up, we'll
Okay.
go into it, bang it out.
All right. That sounds good. I like the mystery too. That's a good idea. We'll do that.
Oh, we know
But
2
that-
movies.
That
We
is
know
what
2
we had
movies, yeah.
before.
That's
Yeah.
the start of something spectacular.
The holiday season is upon us.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
I guess. So Scrooged and Gremlins for
Merry
sure next
Christmas,
week,
motherfuckers.
and
Just a taste.
that's just a taste. Well, does anybody have anything going on before we sign off for the evening?
the usual shit. Bastard Sons of Judas Goat, Facebook, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Tales from the podcast, comic book, Tales from Shock and Terror. Yeah. and
Don't forget
Graveyard Talk and Nasty
Graveyard.
Nation.
There you go.
Yeah. So just
Beautiful.
look that shit up.
It's
I don't have
around,
the
and
energy.
we share it on our pages too. So make sure you follow us on Facebook for all that. Mike,
You can check out my YouTube channel, Leisure Trading Company, YouTube/Leisure Trading Co. LEASURE. I throw some stuff on there from my trips. I travel a lot, so I try to put some interesting clips up every now and then. I'm trying to get more footage. I've got a pile of footage I want to put on there. I just don't have any time to upload or edit shit that I want to. One of these days we'll get around to it, but you can go over there and check out what we got. Also, Leisure Trading Company on eBay. We got collectibles, stuff you can buy, Christmas. Take a look. Might see something you like. If not, hey, thanks anyway.
all right, sounds good.
That's nicely put.
Yes, that was perfect. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We are your video store clerks, and we will see you all next week, Wednesday at 11 p.m. Eastern. Join us then.
It's not a legacy I want to leave behind.
Wooga wooga wah wah wooga wooga wah ho ho ho.
Welcome to the store.